What's good? It's Sam, and welcome to Kickstart a Kickstarter podcast. Normally, Andrew be talking to you, but we're going to switch it up a bit, and you've got me. You're welcome. Today, we'll be talking with guests Danny and Sarah of Kickstart's project, Coddlesworth Clockwork Circus. So, with that being said, let's just jump right in. Hello. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Danny. How are you guys doing?
Great. How about you?
Can't complain.
Good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Really good.
Cool. Let's just get right in. Can you tell me a little bit about the story?
Yeah. Wow. Jumping right in, 2 feet, eyes
Yep.
closed, head up. All right. So the story is so the ongoing story is one based on the setting. So there's changes in the world. We've got a steampunk setting. There's been a mysterious storm hovering over the ocean, kind of like the eye of Jupiter. That big storm we see. It's just always there forever.
Yeah.
Uh, that fades one day, and there's a continent beneath. But additionally, apparently, that was holding in magic for whatever reason. And so the overarching story is kind of discovering, like, hey, how did this happen? Why magic is doing what it's doing, and what are the repercussions of that? Uh, the first book, introduces our main protagonists, who are from that continent. They are two halflings. Um, and they are seeking answers to those very questions because of events that have happened to them, which have led them to believe that those answers are outside of the continent. And they run into a couple of members of the circus in issue one, um, in a port town, like kind of in the south, that that's on the edge of a desert. So the steampunk elements don't really get introduced until almost the very end there, where you start to see, okay, there's someone with a gun, there's someone with that's dressed in more of a Victorian attire, and then yeah, that's where we ended. There is the halflings kind of going with those two individuals, and then we'll see what happens in issue two.
I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but who is Coddlesworth?
Coddlesworth is it's a family name. So Lady Atherianen, and it's Rhiannon, but it's steampunk, so we put the other in front of her name because she's in an airship. Lady Atherianen Coddlesworth is the proprietor of the Clockwork Circus, and she comes from a sort of high society lifestyle up in the northern continent of Ireland, which is sort of a Western European analog, if you will. And yeah, she's got uh, her reasons for the circus are not necessarily simply for traveling around and entertaining the masses, and leave it at that.
Cool. So this is the first Kickstarter that you guys have done. Uh, what was it about it that said this is it? This is why I need. This is the story I need to tell.
Well, this is the first Kickstarter I've done, and I have answers for that question. But this is
Oh,
not Sarah's first Kickstarter. She the success of her first Kickstarter is kind of uh, part of why I really felt strongly with partnering with her and with Rem Alternus to do this. So I'll let her go first because hers was first.
Sure. Yeah, Chicago Shadows is a cyberpunk fantasy short film that we created as a concept for a TV series that is a hopeful that we're continuing to push to produce. So that was my first Kickstarter. Rem was a baby company, and we funded, and that was just an amazing journey. And so since we had that under our belt, we already had a bit of an audience built up. Danny approached me about partnering with Coddlesworth, which I thought was a really great idea because he's he's a creator, and sometimes doing the producer element isn't fun. And as a production company, that's a service we can provide. So that was a fun direction for us to take in partnering up. Um, but Danny, if you want to talk about your side of things.
Yeah, so I'm retired military. Spent 24 years in. Had lots of hopes and dreams when I was younger about being an artist in general. So I started playing music. I was all-state Texas Orchestra. I qualified for the military band, but they didn't have any slots because apparently there's not a lot of uh, they need more other people in the army than they do people that play instruments. But
Hmm.
so those slots open up very few. Um, then I got into like DJing like house music and stuff like that in
Oh,
various
wow.
clubs. And so I thought I was gonna go the music route, but I've always enjoyed like Dungeons and Dragons and telling stories with my friends and just, having that sort of letting our imagination take hold in these fantasy realms. Eventually you get to a point where you're just like, I enjoy playing music, but I no longer have a drive to try to hustle and get myself out there and gig and stuff. So I started focusing on writing, and this story has been percolating for about 10 years. And now, like I said, I'm retired military. I'm at this point where it's like I got to get up and do the thing if I want to do the thing.
Yeah.
There's no more sitting back and going like, what if, what if, what if? Like I've got to make it happen, and I have to make it happen. And so that's what I did. I started looking into. I was was commissioning a lot of art at the time, and so one of the artists I kind of said, "Hey, do you do sequential art?" He said, "Yes." So I started talking to him about doing it, and then it's about a year and a half, 2 years later, and here we are with the first book ready to go, and hopefully we can get the second one just done much faster.
Cool. I just want you to know. I mean, I don't know if this is breaking any rules, but I subscribed. I paid into it, so can't wait to get a copy of the book.
Thank you so
Awesome,
much.
thank you.
So speaking of the Kickstarter, how does it feel to be 100% fulfilled in less than 15 hours?
I'm
I'll let I'll let Danny go.
so so I'm gonna go first, but I'm gonna first say that I don't know that Sarah is surprised. So we're doing our research, and I'm looking at like I'm not a known person in comics at all. Like I'm just finding out like who people are in the community and who the reviewers are, and I'm like starting to follow them on Twitter. So I don't know anybody. And this is a number one. This is nobody knows what this comic is, has heard of it, what it's going to be about, or what it's like. And what I've found is if you're not Alan Moore doing your own personal you know, deal on Kickstarter, you're not nobody cares. And and if it's a number one, people are a little less, it's the 2 and 3 that start getting like a lot more success. So so I'm looking at that and going like, all I need to do is really print it. So if we get like $500, and and enough people are interested, we get 500, we can at least print the comic, and then and Sarah's like, we're gonna do like 50 billion jillion dollars, and I was like, I'm scared of that. So it ended up being 5,000. She had initially gone more, but then we started haggling like we were at a bazaar somewhere, and we got it to it was 5,000 is I think where I felt safe. So for me, I'm very surprised. I was like, what the hell is even going on? I don't understand this at all. Um, so and I did get a couple of I told you so's from somebody, but yeah, so I'm blown away. I'm really excited about this. I'm really happy. It makes me feel like we might be able to make some of the stretch goals, which also run into what I really love. So the first stretch goal is to create role-playing game supplements for tabletop RPGs for Dungeons and Dragons, so that people can play in the setting of the book, and I want to do that with every book so that people can slowly get all the parts.
Well, the viewers at home can't see this, but my face got lit up when I heard tabletop and D&D stuff. So I am very excited about that. Sarah, what was your side of this? How did you feel when you hit 100?
Um, it felt really good, and it's with a Kickstarter. Someone once told me that by the time you finish your first Kickstarter, you're ready to run your first Kickstarter, and this being my second Kickstarter, I feel that 100% it's true. Uh, it's still stressful to set up, but this was Danny's baby. It wasn't my baby. So I really was just the crunch time for me of getting everything in on time. That was the most stressful for me. And then of course, like right when you're leading up to pushing the button and giving up control, like that's the moment that I'm like, okay, there's nothing more I can do. Um, but I felt like as I was looking at the math and as I had talked to people that Danny had brought in, we're actually running an actual play of Dungeons and Dragons that's set in this world every Sunday. We run that, and the
I'm
fact,
sorry. Is that on? Where can people watch that?
I will send you a link to that and to the Twitch so you can catch up and also get the get and then once you're caught up, catch us on Twitch.
yeah,
Oh,
we're on YouTube for all past episodes, and all new episodes are on Twitch.
I'll put the link in the description. I'm sorry.
Great.
Sorry to cut you off. Continue.
No, that's fine. Uh, it's since we're playing with this cast and we're bringing some of Danny's contacts in. We've got a professional actor, a playwright, people from his military past, and people get to contribute to this world. They get excited about it as well. And then Danny, when he talks to people about it, he gets them excited. So just from the mutual friends we have, which is growing, but isn't a big overlap, and kind of talking to them and seeing what they were excited about, and as we were building the Kickstarter and looking for feedback, like what levels they were planning to donate at, I'm like, I really think the 5,000 is going to be doable, and we can push toward more of our stretch goals. I think also with the following that Rem already had, from the first Kickstarter and our social media outlets and stuff like that, I think we could get it in front of enough people to make it happen. So the 5,000 wasn't surprising to me. My secret goal is 15. That's when I'm like, okay, okay, I feel like we did this. I think that's my secret goal. But I'm really happy for Danny and seeing him get so excited. And last night we streamed yesterday for 14 hours, I think. And
Wow.
and yeah, and we wanted to be there and draw people in through the Kickstarter page. We embedded it in the Kickstarter page and interacted with the chat all day. And I think that, like, from being exhausted but excited and happy, like Danny just kind of broke at the end of the night, and it was wonderful and cute. And um like it just didn't seem to really like process, and it was a great thing to watch, and I really feel honored that he brought me in to be part of that. So
That's awesome. That's so awesome. You mentioned your stretch goals. Can you give us any more information on any the future ones? And you mentioned the D&D tabletop one. What would Can you get more into? Yeah, can you go more into that and any
yes.
other ones?
Yes, I can buy myself a little time because I'm going to click on the project while I talk here. Like I said, I have planned as far as 15,000. We have stretch goals all the way up, but we wanted to keep them kind of flexible and loose because we wanted to really get feedback from the community of what they were excited about. And if it's more maps, if it's more art, if it's t-shirts and or gaming materials or whatever, we wanted to be flexible to be able to adapt to that. So really for us, it was kind of talking through like what the logical process was and how much that would be. So for 5,000, that was our goal. 10,000 is what gets us the D&D supply kit, if you will, of materials. And then from there we go to 15,000, which is all of our backers will get the comic in full color, and that's why I'm so excited for that one. Everything's black and white. A colorist, we have a great one that's on standby, but it is pricey to do, so we really wanted to factor that in. So that's the 15,000 one. And then from there, man, I have a lot of documents in here. Uh, from there, we have the probability is a third cover. So maybe doing an alternate cover, whether it's a foil cover or like a Kickstarter exclusive, or something like that, something to commemorate our success.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
For the TTRPG stuff, so we're looking at all the battle maps used in the actual play, because right now the actual play starts in the same setting as the comic. So the actual play, all those maps, the tokens, all the tokens of the characters from the book. So if when you look at there's a two main characters, you're going to see like there's going to be guards that are in the city, so you're going to get the tokens for the guards. So you can have guards and all of those are the major areas, and then we're going to make battle maps for all the major areas in the comic book, and then a source book, really, like a short source book, maybe a 10-page thing with art and everything that outlines, well, what is this city, the port of Merkodashta? What is that city? Where is it at? Where all the major places inside of it are, so that yeah, people can run their adventures in there.
Great. So you guys are already funded. You hit the mark in record time. What do you say to people who speak? You guys have enough money. You don't need to fund you. What do you say to them?
So I mean, the question to me is well, how fast do you want issue two? Because this has all been self-funded. I have paid for every page out of my pocket. So this isn't an endeavor to make money. Like right now, that 5,000, that doesn't even cover the artwork for the book, all the illustrations. It doesn't cover that yet. I'm okay with that. I'm going to make this project whether people want to have a TTRPG supplemental kit or not. I'm going to write this. I'm going to get it done. But I really would like to see issue two in 6 months. I'd really like to, or between 6 months and a year, probably more feasible. I'd really like to see the books coming out faster so that we can get to the story, so that we can get all the materials, we can get everything going. And so that's really what's going to help is there's so many people involved in this, and there a lot of people are doing it just through passion at this point. But to be able to say, hey, all of your work here, that's worth something. So maybe we can pay them. For more than just kind of like this sort of small amount that we're saying, hey, this is what we got, but be able to pay them their actual worth, to be able to get the art done faster. And I mean, there's no profit on this, quote unquote, until sometime after that second stretch goal, $15,000, maybe then we can start looking at, oh, we made a little money. And so that would mean that I get paid zero for my writing, right? Up until then, etc. And yeah, it's if you're not Marvel, it's really expensive to publish a comic book.
I have heard that. I have heard that.
Yeah,
But I got to be honest with you, the indie comics are usually better written. So
yeah. Well,
don't come for me, Marvel, please.
uh, Sarah, your mic is muted.
Sorry, my dog started barking, so I muted it. Um, so to add to that, I agree with Danny, and to add to that, the 5,000 really that gets us the coverage of getting our audience this comic book and any of the rewards that come with it. Beyond that is supporting a creator, a small creator, a small nerdy woman owned production company, and like helping us continue to produce this content and to tell this story. So hopefully, the art, the story, what we've put on the Kickstarter page is enough to bring people um into this world and fall in love with it like we have. Uh, and the fact that there's also opportunities out there for, I mean, this world is massive, so opportunities to connect and collaborate with the creator to add to this world. We have a Discord server for Rem, and periodically Danny will be like, what do elven gods like how's their layout work and stuff like that. So like thinking through that and adding to this world, I think is a really cool opportunity.
I I got to tell you, I was very excited to read all the information that you listed out in the Kickstarter in regards to the world and the characters and the character classes. It seemed really like really well thought out, and to know that there is a way to like you can like maybe talk with you guys and actually collaborate in regards to what you were just saying about the Discord server. That's Discord server. That's really cool. That's like you don't get that a lot with artists. I mean, with writers and people making a comic, you don't really get the feedback directly with the fans like that. So I really appreciate that.
Well, and I think that's important to us. You know, Danny for Coddlesworth Clockwork Circus, like he's a separate entity that came together with Rem. But with Rem's other projects, Danny works for us. So the fact that like he chose us to produce the comic as well, like we pride ourselves out of individuality, inclusion, and acceptance. And so like those are our core values. So making a diverse team, taking feedback, interacting with our fans. We do Friday board game nights that we stream with our fans. Like we want to be accessible, and as we continue to grow, we understand that we only are where we are because of them. So maintaining our roots and staying humble no matter what success we may see is super important to me.
Exactly. Yeah. There are huge parts of the lore that are absolutely inspired by the contributions of just folks who are enthusiastic about it. Um, the biggest one I can point to is uh, there's the south part of the world is pretty much overrun with orc pirates, um, and that's because someone said orc pirates, and so I said, "What does that look like?" And eventually that came to be. So um, it's exactly the kind of thing.
You know, regular pirates are just bad enough when you have a seal run with them, but when you get the orc factor to it, it makes it just a little more scary. Well, a lot more scary, but you know. All right. Let's just change gears for a little second. So about you guys personally, what drew you to fantasy? What is it that about fantasy that does it for you? Like it makes you be so interested in like I mean, anyone who plays D&D, they know that they love the like it's about the world and the people and the the magic, the mystery, the role playing, all that stuff. Everyone has different reasons, and but I want to know what's yours. I'm sorry if I'm babbling. I'm just
No,
trying
you're
to
good.
get my thoughts out.
Do you want to go first, Danny?
So yeah, sure. I will go first. So, I have what one might call a hyperactive imagination. Um,
I have one of
and
those.
yeah, I was telling this story to some folks yesterday. So in fourth grade, I would not do homework. The teacher had an idea. It was put me in the corner every day after school to do my homework. All I could do was my homework. I couldn't have anything else, no access. I had to be away from the TV, away from where people might be moving around. I had to, so, and she said, if you do your homework, I'll sign off, and then you don't have to do that the next night. But then if you don't do your homework, I won't sign off. You got to sit there. And it was like an hour per subject. And she told my parents, "So at worst, right? He'll be there every other day." It makes sense, right? Common sense.
Yeah.
So I sat there every day that year, just having adventures in my head, just running around and just making stuff up. Stories were happening, all kinds of things. I'm 9 years old, you know, and having these things happen in my head. I read Tolkien at 7, um, because I hate myself.
Yeah.
That's a hard read at 7. I'm just saying. I mean, it's brilliant. I'm just saying it. At 7, it's a hard read.
I read it at
And
12, still hard.
yeah, and so yeah, but what happened then was kind of magical because my parents, they didn't get it. They didn't get why their kid was like this. Why their kid was losing things all the time and couldn't get all the stuff done. But I think something about that in my click. It made something click with my dad. and so we were military, and we were moving away from we were stationed in Korea at that time, and we're coming back to the States. I was just about to be 9, and as we were leaving, he came up to me and he gave me, he said, "Hey, I got this for you because maybe you can find some people where you're going, and this is something you can do with them." And he gave me the Dungeons and Dragons Red Box, uh, 9 years old. So that just
Wow.
fueled that fire. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, Tolkien at 7, uh, playing by myself in my head when I was 8, and
Yeah.
and then the Red Book at 9, and it just there we went, and it's you get to live so many stories, like everything that's fictionalized, right? Like playing a video game, these video games now, that's you're living that story. That's an experience you have. People can poo-poo that all they want, but that's an experience you had when you play Dungeons and Dragons and you get into these characters and these roles. That's an experience you had, right? Where do we get that? Anywhere else? It's brilliant.
That's awesome.
I should have gone first because that
Ah,
story was better than mine.
it's fine.
uh,
It's fine.
I started late. I was a daydreamer, but more realistic, I think, in most cases. Though I grew up probably my mid-teens, I think it was. I started watching Buffy. That was my first like big fandom. And so yeah, so now I wanted to fight the monsters, right? I was going to be the Slayer.
Shout out to
And
Buffy fans.
right? And so then I when I went to college, I still hadn't really gotten into any of the high fantasy anything. I remember sitting and watching the first Lord of the Rings with a friend of mine who was like an uber nerd and was like re-quoting the Elvish language back at the TV, and I'm like, "What did I get myself into?" Um, so I didn't really enjoy it, I guess, with that company. But I started reading the Harry Potter books once again later than everyone else, and I really loved the world of magic that brought up and opened up. And then I started playing Dungeons and Dragons with a friend, and I was like, whatever, I don't like these rules. This is too hard to do. And it was 3.5. And so someone made a character for me that was pretty much playing me as an elf. I did fencing and learned bullwhip as a when I was in college. So
Shout out to Fencing Gang.
yay! So I pretty much played myself, but I had a lot of fun. Like um, my DM was a great storyteller, so like learning that just kind of sank that in, and I was like, I want more of this. So having more opportunities to play and more opportunities to dig deeper, and then I went back and watched Lord of the Rings, and now I have to like watch it once a year or else I'll cease to exist. Um, I don't know, just the whole land of magic, this fantasy realm with different worlds, different rules, different customs. I like seeing different representations of what do elves mean in this world versus this one, or orcs mean in this one versus this one, and playing these characters, and then also being an actor and being able to escape my own um, issues and get into the head of someone else. That escapism was super exciting to me. And there's to cross on what Danny said. There's a quote in Game of Thrones that I'm gonna butcher, but it's a man lives one life, a reader lives 1,000, and I feel that with gaming. I feel that with these movies that I get way too emotionally involved in. I feel that with these books. Um, I've gone on amazing adventures, and Danny has led me on some of those adventures, and like that's something that I feel like connects us on a level that is really rare and special.
Okay. Uh, that was actually really touching. I'm sorry. Just
Oh,
no. It's fine. It's fine. I'm a little weird. So Danny, you're a writer. Sarah, you're an actor. What was one of those moments, that aha moment, where you were just like, I am a writer or I am an actor? What do you think? What was that moment?
I know mine.
Do
Do
you
you
want to
want to
go
go for
first?
hers?
Sure. When I was in high school, I worked at Great Lakes Medieval Fair, and it was my second year working there, and I played a tree fairy. Uh,
Oh.
and she was kind of like an adolescent, like, well, more like really a kid, but wanted to be more grown up than she was, but like a kid personality, but she was 841 years old. Um, and I had so much fun with that character, and I got to be silly and crazy, and but I loved all my fighting stuff. So I was like, man, I really want to be in the final joust, and be one of the people that gets in the big brawl. So I took my wings off because that's when it's serious. Uh, and then I started rest. I wrestle with the blacksmith, and I got knocked out. So I'm like laying in the sand, all knocked out. And then at the end, we all get up and we're all friends again because that's how the Ren Fair goes. Um, so the next hour was my time to kind of oversee fairyland. So I went back to that area, and this little girl comes running up to me sobbing and is like hugging my legs. And I like look up at her mom, and her mom goes, "She saw you get hurt at the joust."
Oh.
And I was like, "Well, this this is the thing I want to do." Like, so convincing others and being real to that little girl, and while just having a blast. Like, I was like, yeah, yeah, I want to do more of this.
Yeah, for sure. So I never really thought of myself as a writer. I'd been going for music for so long, you know. I always thought of my creative energies were best spent there. Meanwhile, I've been a dungeon master since I've been 9 years old, right? Uh, eh, but you don't think of it that way. Like I think of writers, I think of like Neil Gaiman, I think of I think of Terry Pratchett. I think of, I mean, even R.A. Salvatore and all those. Hey, little dog. All right, so yeah, the the writing thing. I started playing Shadowrun again in 2015, 2015, 2014, and I got kind of involved in the demo team at Catalyst Game Labs, and then they were looking for writers for their next season of their live campaign, their organized play campaign, right? They call it Shadowrun missions. And I was like, maybe I have an idea. And so I pitched an idea. They took it. I wrote an adventure module for Shadowrun,
Wow.
and now it's a published adventure module, and I've gotten lots of feedback from it. And that is, we call that validation, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
That's when something you're not sure, but then not only are your friends just kind of telling you, "Oh, it's great, it's great." But there's literally a person who has an economic interest in it being great, and then it being accepted, and then being great. So that is when I was like, I guess I'm a writer now. Just talking with other writers, and the whole like imposter syndrome, and how what does it mean to be a writer. So I guess I'm a writer now, and that went into becoming the lead developer for Shadowrun missions now, and I was like, I'm right. Well, I got this story that I love, that I want to write. I should write it. And yeah, so that's now I'm a writer, and it's super fulfilling.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume so. I would assume. Oh, okay. So, in regards to your writing, what was your favorite thing to write? Would you say it's Shadowrun, or was it something like you wrote just for fun that you didn't give to anyone? Was it something completely different?
That's a really hard question because there's you know, do you like what you like, or do you like what you always gravitate towards, right? So,
Good question.
I really enjoy creating the world, creating everything that's kind of going on. I must, because I'm constantly doing that. I'm doing that to ridiculous lengths, creating the content around everything, around the story. So, uh, so my concern kind of gets to be like, well, when I write the story, am I like, did I am I gonna like mess myself up because I've got all this other stuff going on? But I do really love thinking about and writing the characters and where they're going, because I don't know. I spent all this time writing a world and what's going on in the world because my dungeon master style has always been that way. I don't want to railroad characters, the players, into doing what I want them to do. And if I'm doing something like a module, then I let the players know like we're playing a module, so I'm sorry if we're going to be kind of riding this track, but hopefully there'll be things you can do. I like to have an idea of what's going on, what's happening in the world, so no matter what the players do, I can respond to that. And so my writing style is similar. So I've got this thing going on in the world, and I've got the characters, and I've got an idea of where they're going to go, but I don't know necessarily how things will turn out. I don't know if there's going to become a rivalry between a couple of characters. I don't know if there's going to be a particular bad guy that is going to be particularly hated by one of them. Uh, and so finding that out, like getting to that point, and then like kind of learning it myself, I think that's what I would say is my favorite part. But I gravitate towards just creating all the things around. So I that must have uh, that must be pretty heavy in that. Mm.
I mean, it's an answer not what I was expecting, but more honest than most people give. So, Sarah, what was your favorite character to perform?
Oh, I gotta go with Curie. She's my Chicago Shadows character, and that started from playing Shadowrun as well. That's Shadowrun's how I met Danny. Um, but Curie was a mage who believes that all magic is just science that we haven't quite understood, and some people just have an ability to access that part of their brain that lets you manipulate um, uh, other forces. So she's a very cold personality, but her whole adventure in terms of what she's been through in her youth to how she's growing into into a young adult and surviving in the streets of Chicago, a post-apocalyptic Chicago. Um, I just loved her story so much that that's what really inspired me to start Rem Alternus and do the first Kickstarter. And I kept thinking, man, I want to tell this story, but I'm not a writer. So I tried to like word vomit on a Word document for like I think I made it to like 10,000 words, and it needed so much cleanup, and I don't enjoy doing it. Um, so finally I had this dream one day that I was like, man, when I woke up, I was like, "Yeah, we should make it into a web series." And then I was like, "Ha ha ha, that's so silly." And the more I thought about it, the more into it I was, and really what was exciting for, kind of that like when did you realize you were a producer instead of a writer? But when I started asking questions in the gamer community, in the Shadowrun community, in the cyberpunk community, in the film community, no one told me no. Everyone was excited about it and wanted to be part of it and make it happen, and we we did. Um, and that was incredible. So the fact that we were able to make the short and we're taking steps to make that into a series, like that was a big thing for me where it was like once the Kickstarter I think was funded, that's when I was like, yeah, I'm a producer now.
All right. So last question. What do you guys want to say to the fans?
To the fans, thank you so much. I'm blown away. I just I'm so excited that this is exciting to anyone else. And um, I love Dungeons and Dragons. I love role playing games. I love fantasy, and I love that other people love it, and I want everyone to love it. And so I just am happy that people are coming into this and seeing it, and that they approve. And hopefully, you know we can share this with everybody and get it going and play in this world, play in the sandbox.
Sarah?
Yeah, I feel like anything I have to say, Danny's the passion project. Like, this is his passion project. This is his baby. We're so grateful to all the backers, to all the supporters, the kind words of encouragement, the reviews that have come in that have been positive. This is just the start of the adventure, and we can't wait to see it continue to grow. And we're excited to have each of our fans on that journey with us.
That's awesome. All right. It was nice talking to you guys.
You too.
Yeah, thank you so much.
If you're listening, please go check out Coddlesworth's Clockwork Circus. It's on Kickstarter. How many days left is it? 28 days? 29 days?
28 days. 28.
Almost all of them, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And with that, I will talk to you guys later. Well,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, talk to us later, please.
Yeah.
I definitely, I would love to hang out with you sometime.
yeah, maybe we can play a D&D there.
Totally. I'm into it.
I'm going to hold you guys to that.
No, 100%, yes.
It's not hard to do.
All right. See ya.
Thank you
All
so
right,
much, Sam.
goodbye.